My wife heard a woman's voice say, "We shouldn't be here right now," from my laptop, but it was just Diablo, and she still thinks I'm cheating. About an hour ago, something happened that I cannot explain, and it's been eating at me ever since. I'm sitting here still rattled, trying to put my thoughts together because I can't shake the weirdness of it. I don't know if this is a tech glitch, some bizarre coincidence, or something else entirely, but whatever it was, it felt wrong. So, here's what went down. My wife was in the kitchen making dinner, and we were chatting casually, just ordinary stuff about work, bills, family, and the usual current events. Nothing out of the ordinary, no tension, no arguments. At one point, I excused myself to use the restroom. On the way, I ducked into the bedroom and told Alexa to turn on the lights. I have no idea if that part is relevant, but it's the sequence of events, so I'm including it. I wasn't gone for more than 90 seconds. When I walked back into the kitchen, my wife was standing there with this look on her face, suspicion mixed with anger, like she'd just caught me doing something shady. Before I even had a chance to ask what was wrong, she said, "Who the f*** are you talking to on your computer?" I froze. I had no idea what she was talking about. My laptop had been sitting on the dining room table the whole time. I hadn't touched it. I'd been in the bathroom. I told her that, but she shook her head, looking dead serious. She swore she heard a female voice come from my laptop. Not just any voice, but a very specific phrase. "We shouldn't be here right now." My stomach dropped. Not because it was true, it wasn't, but because of how damning that sounded. Out of context, it sounded like something you'd hear in a secretive, inappropriate conversation. From her perspective, it must have looked like she'd just caught me red-handed. Meanwhile, I'm scrambling in my head, trying to think of any rational explanation. My laptop is basically my office. I use it for day trading, research, and browsing. At that moment, here's what I had open. Discord. I was logged in but not connected to any voice channel. The only one I use is a group for day trading, and I wasn't in it. No calls, no pings, nothing. Firefox tabs. I keep a queue of YouTube videos to watch later. I had some open about the F-22 Raptor, stock market analysis, diesel engines, geology, political corruption, and golf. None were playing at the time, and none would contain a phrase like, "We shouldn't be here right now." Other tabs. Facebook, my brokerage platforms, a few stock charts, and now, ironically, Google searches about random voices coming from a computer. This machine is new, and I keep it clean. I run malware scans, I don't download shady stuff. My old laptop used to have the occasional auto-playing YouTube tab that would spook me, but this one? Never. And even if something did randomly play, what are the odds it would be that exact phrase? I showed my wife everything. The open tabs, the Discord status, the browsing history. I was desperate to prove that I wasn't hiding anything. But she just looked at me with this flat expression and said, "I know what I heard. That's what's eating me alive." I don't doubt that she heard something, but I know it didn't come from me. If it wasn't me, then what was it? I started spiraling through possible explanations. Could Alexa have glitched and thrown a voice through my laptop speaker somehow? Could an ad have started and cut off before I noticed? Could Discord have bugged out and connected me to some stray voice channel? Or maybe she misheard something outside. It's summer here, and the windows were open, as was the back door. Our neighbors aren't super close, but you can hear voices drift in if people are outside. Still, the idea that she'd hear such a specific phrase, in a distinctly female voice, timed perfectly for when I left the room, and mistake it as coming from my laptop? That feels like too much of a coincidence. And then there's the phrase itself. "We shouldn't be here right now." The more I think about it, the more unsettling it becomes. It doesn't sound like an ad, or a video snippet, or a stock market podcast. It sounds conversational. Human. Like something a person would whisper if they were somewhere they shouldn't be. And that's exactly why my wife's suspicion is now gnawing at me. I swear to God, I'm not cheating. I need to start by saying that again because my whole life feels like it's unraveling over something I cannot explain. Alexa's voice is recognizable. We both know what she sounds like, robotic and consistent. What my wife heard was not Alexa. It was, in her words, a real woman's voice, and she insists it came directly from my laptop. Now here I am, sitting in the aftermath, branded guilty without proof, scrambling for an explanation that doesn't exist. My laptop is on the dining room table, my office, the hub of my day-to-day life. I had Discord open, no active voice channels, Firefox with a handful of YouTube tabs queued, military jets, stock trading, geology, engines, the usual nerdy rabbit holes I live in. Facebook, brokerage tabs, charts. Nothing sketchy. Nothing hidden. Nothing that even remotely matches a random woman saying, "We shouldn't be here right now." And yet, my wife swears she heard it. And the worst part? I believe her. She's not lying, she heard something. The problem is, if she's convinced it came from my laptop and the words themselves sound incriminating, how the hell do I convince her otherwise? I laid it all bare. I told her she could go through my phone, my browser history, my Discord logs, everything. Do.
Not cheat.
Never have, never will. Am I a man who occasionally watches porn? Yes, I'll own that. I'm visual like a lot of people. But I've never paid for anything, never joined a group, never spoken to anyone in that world.
Ever.
I even added an emphatic ever to drive it home, but it didn't seem to matter. Because here's the bigger context. Our lives have been tangled up recently in someone else's cheating disaster. Close relatives, not us, but their mess has bled into our lives in a huge, exhausting way. They're in the middle of betrayal, lies, and heartbreak, and we've been dragged into it unwillingly. It's raw, it's fresh, and it's poisoned the air we breathe. And then, as if fate itself decided to take a shit on me, this random voice decided to pipe up from nowhere. The timing couldn't have been worse. If the roles were reversed, and I heard a male voice from her laptop saying, "We shouldn't be here right now," while she was out of the room, I'd probably lose it too. I can't even blame her for being upset. But guilty until proven innocent? That's the standard now. And I can't prove a negative. I've racked my brain for explanations. Could Alexa have misfired? Could it have been a neighbor outside, their voice drifting in through our open windows, landing just right to sound like it came from my laptop speakers? Could a stray video have autoplayed in the background? Discord glitching? Malware? Hell, maybe some bizarre AI audio ad? None of it adds up. I keep replaying it. The timing, the words, the exact phrasing is what makes it so damning. We shouldn't be here right now. That's not a stock phrase. That's not something an engine repair video or a stock analysis clip would ever spit out. That's something a human would whisper if they were caught in a compromising situation. And now, my marriage is in jeopardy because of it. She hasn't outright accused me of having an affair, but the look in her eyes says enough. Distrust has crept in. And once distrust settles, it poisons everything. She asked me questions with this edge in her voice, not screaming, not crying, but sharp, cold, cutting. Like she's already decided I'm guilty, and she's just waiting for me to trip up. I told her flat out, "You are welcome to go through everything.
My phone.
My laptop. My Discord. All of it." She shrugged, as if transparency doesn't matter because the damage is already done. That's what kills me. The evidence of my innocence doesn't matter. What she heard feels more real to her than anything I can show her. And so I'm stuck. I feel like I'm on trial in my own home, fighting for a marriage I've been nothing but faithful in. I keep thinking about how fragile trust is. 9, 10, 20 years of loyalty and one unexplained moment, one phantom voice, can burn it all to the ground. What terrifies me most is the finality of it. She said, "I know what I heard. And I know I can't change that." I can't crawl into her brain and flip the switch back to trust. The phrase lingers in both our minds like poison gas, choking out everything else. And maybe I'm overthinking this, but part of me feels like there's something more sinister at play. The voice, the timing, the context of our relative's cheating mess, it feels almost scripted. Like the universe threw me into the worst possible sitcom episode of my life. I looked around the room while writing this earlier, half joking to myself. What if this wasn't even a tech glitch? What if it was something bigger? Something I can't even comprehend? But then I stopped myself. Because I don't need supernatural paranoia on top of marital distrust. I just need one clear, logical answer. Something to make it make sense. Something I can point to and say, "See, this is what happened. This is why you heard that." So here I am, reaching out into the void. Has anyone ever experienced something like this? A phantom voice from your devices? Something that sounded real, human, undeniable? Did you find an explanation? Because right now my choices are limited to computer, phone, Alexa, neighbors, and none of them fit. I thought I had cracked the code. After hours of sitting there in silence, running scenarios in my head like some detective trying to piece together a crime scene I didn't commit, it hit me. Diablo. My wife and I are semi-gamers. Yeah, I know, we're not kids anymore, but we both still enjoy it, especially Diablo. It's our little ritual. Some nights after work we'll cook dinner, sit down with plates in front of the TV, fire up Diablo, and hack our way through demons together until bed. It's a release, a way to connect, to laugh when one of us dies in some dumb way, to share something that doesn't involve bills, relatives, or stress. Earlier that night, before dinner, I had set up the game. The controllers were on the couch, as usual. The couch that, frankly, our pets think belongs to them more than us. Our cat and dogs jump up and down on it constantly. Their tails swipe across the cushions. They step on things. They bump buttons without realizing it. And here's the thing about Diablo. When you're in town and you accidentally hit the attack button, the game's female character voice responds with, "You can't do that right now." It's a familiar line, burned into my brain after hearing it 1,000 times. That's when it hit me like lightning. That's it. That had to be it. My wife heard, "We shouldn't be here right now," but what actually played was, "You can't do that right now." It's not a huge leap. Misheard words happen all the time, and the cadence is close enough to cause confusion. Especially if she wasn't expecting it. Especially if she was already a little keyed up, already suspicious because of the family cheating drama that's poisoned the air around us. I was actually relieved. For the first time in hours, I felt like I had an answer that made sense. I didn't yell, "Eureka!" I'm not that dramatic, but in my head, I felt a little victorious. Finally, I could explain this weird, relationship-threatening glitch. So I walked down the hall to tell her. She wasn't in our bed. She was in the guest room, stewing, choosing silence over even looking at me. I stood in the doorway, tired but determined, and explained. "Babe, I figured it out. The controllers were on the couch.
The pets could have stepped on them.
In Diablo, when you're in town and you press attack, the character says, 'You can't do that right now.'" That's probably what you heard. Her response? Nope. Just flat-out dismissal. She looked at me like I was the world's dumbest liar. She repeated, word for word, "I know what I heard. It came from your computer. You're just trying to cover your ass." And that was it. End of conversation. My carefully constructed explanation, the only logical thing I could come up with, went up in smoke. I was still the cheater in her eyes, still the guy who apparently has a mystery woman hiding inside his laptop whispering incriminating things. Now I'm in bed alone. Correction. I'm in our bed alone, while she's in the guest room. She's furious. She won't even entertain the Diablo explanation, even though it's the only one that lines up. And here's the part that guts me. I don't have anything else to offer. That's it. That's the explanation. If she refuses to accept it, what more can I do? Stand there all night, swearing on every grave I can think of that I've never cheated? Beg her to sit with me and test it out, hit the button in Diablo until the phrase plays again, so she can see how easy it is to mistake. Even then, would she really believe me? Or would it just sound like some rehearsed attempt to smooth things over? The sad truth is, trust is fragile. When it's broken, or even suspected to be broken, no amount of evidence can fix it if the other person has already decided what's real. She knows what she heard. I know what actually happened. And there's a canyon of mistrust in between us right now. And yeah, I'll admit it. Divorce feels like a very real possibility tonight. We've already been under so much strain from everything else happening in our lives, especially with our relatives' drama. Their infidelity battles, their accusations, their lies. All of it spilled over into our lives. It's already been wearing us down. And then this, at the exact worst time? It feels almost scripted by some cruel hand. So here I am, typing this out, trying to make sense of a situation that makes no sense. I've never cheated. I never would. And yet, somehow, I might lose everything over a misheard line from a video game. I don't know how to convince her. I don't know if there's even a way. I can't force her to trust me again. And if she refuses to accept even the most logical explanation, what hope is left? Maybe tomorrow, when the anger cools, I can sit her down and run the game. Make it happen again. Show her the voice line. Maybe she'll realize how easy it is to misinterpret. Or maybe she won't. Maybe she'll always see me as the guy covering his ass. But right now, all I can do is sit in this bed, alone, wondering how in the hell my marriage ended up on the brink because of a stray line in Diablo.